Okay, welcome everyone. We are live, and just keep in mind that that is a citizen that's broadcasting that's not the town of Alstead. Long story on that. Which you know. Okay, we'll go over a bunch of stuff tonight. Let me start with how Sam is doing. I got a card here which I'll pass around on that, so people want to sign it for him. He fell. We go tonight. No, we go last night. And from what Peg has told me, he basically snapped the ball of his femur off at the hip and had a hip replacement. And so he basically tripped up the stairs coming from the garage. And unfortunately, the ambulance was able to get there, even though the roads weren't great that night. And so he was at Cheshire Medical and has now moved into foreign rehab upstairs, which is a good thing. From the way the doctor explained it when we were there visiting, that I guess, I don't want to say selective, but I guess they have rules about, what the criteria of what shape you're in and what you can do before they'll send you to foreign rather than someplace else. And of course, Medicare comes into play, and the insurance companies with that. So for anybody, so he's actually was up today and walked a number of steps this morning from what his wife Peg told me, and I guess there's a few other things they're keeping an eye on, but the hope is that he'll be home the end of next week. So got a few days.
Do they allow him to smoke?
That's the first thing. Oh, that's good.
No, actually, he said it was not misery that he smoked such low nicotine cigarettes that it wasn't an issue for him. But I think in terms of possibly the cough that he has and some other things that may be an issue with a few things.
Well, it's certainly motivated to get up and walk, isn't it?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I found one that has, you might as well suck on your finger.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, I'm saying.
Okay. Minutes from way back on December 16th. Any comments on that?
Was I here?
Any comments on that?
I wasn't here.
Neither was I. I got in at about 6 o'clock.
Yes, and I was here if you weren't here. I remember that. We talked about you not being here.
Yeah, we actually, we went through the warrant articles. Marge, Priscilla, Nick, Juliana, Sam,
Wait, the 16th?
and Mary Ann, December 16th.
Oh, I'd gotten home the night before, I guess. 3 days late.
Bob and Barbara were here, Michael was here.
All right. So somebody who was here, how about a motion to approve? Mary Ann, so moved. Second? Nick? Okay. All in favor? Okay. Opposed? Abstentions?
I still can't because I can't believe that I read that.
Thank you for your honesty.
Not to sound like a mother, but it's today is January 6th, and on January 12th is the selectmen's hearing, so we need to get a move on here with stuff. Part of that I know is my fault for canceling last week, but the advice of the select board, the chair of the select board, was that if there's a winter weather advisory, cancel your meeting. And I was concerned that because of the date being between the holidays like that those people who may have remembered or not remembered they voted in favor of it might not have showed up. And to be perfectly honest, it was my birthday and I didn't really want to go there anyway. So that's the reason why I canceled. So we got a lot to do, so you can blame me. In the meantime, I don't know how many of you had a chance to look at your email, but Jonathan has resigned. So he did say in his email, I will talk so you haven't read it.
Gas around the world.
He did say that. Where's that car right here?
You should still work on the gas back.
Yes, thank you. That he would still be involved with with mixed feelings. He's decided to step down. Driving factor being that travel schedule for work makes it impossible for me to contribute at the appropriate level. Wednesday night is the most likely evening for me to be traveling for work. I'll continue to work with Priscilla, Glenn, and MuniSmart on improving reporting to wrap this up, and I'll be happy to contribute in the future if a topic arises that I can provide some insight into, and then he went on from there. Pleasure working with you and getting to know everyone, so.
So we have very like a consultant type thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things I think I put out in the, sorry, I just got so much paper here, it's unbelievable, the last 2 weeks. In the email that I had sent out, long-winded thing, was that the select board approved $600 for new reports next year, and I really hope that they are talking to him about the reports so that they get implemented the right way. I missed the meeting when they made that announcement, so I'm not sure what they said and what they decided to do, so. But,
There were several people, the three of us plus Jonathan, who are interested in following up on that, so I think we should reconstitute ourselves as the, whatever that committee was. Okay, Donna? I'm looking at you, Donna. Okay.
How do you feel now?
Quick, ask her to volunteer for other things.
Right, what do we need to do to go forward with that then? I think it would be probably a wise idea if someone took the lead on that and followed up with the select board or Linda and found out what was going on and got going. Thoughts?
Probably, I think they're also thinking about training the new person on Smart too, so I think the way I got it, would take it that they would do that, and then we would get the reports at the same time.
You talking about Kelly or someone else?
I think Kelly.
Okay.
They want to give her some good training.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much she's using it or how much Linda's trained her as far as that goes, so. But,
Time's ticking away.
okay, we need somebody to say, yes, I will contact Linda or Joel and find out what was agreed to and who's heading up.
Yeah, I'll do that. That's not a problem.
Okay, I've got your name, I got you down here. I forgot.
Cross that off the budget. So I was trying to find spacing out, it's too short, too small. Somewhere in here. Okay. Well, we might as well finish that one up too in terms of committee reports. Did we ever get input from Jonathan with his last email because we tabled any action on it at that point? That's going back a few meetings, early in December.
That was just spreadsheet.
Yeah.
My memory is that he showed us 3 different formats, and he actually talked with MuniSmart. It was 4 formats, and 2 of them, the ones that are done, require monthly partitioning of data. MuniSmart can't do, but the other ones will.
Right.
So then I forwarded that message to Joel, and Joel said, we're going to go for it. He really liked those formats, and he was all enthusiastic about hiring someone, who could get the data out on a monthly basis and so forth. But I'd be happy just to get that.
Yes, that's great.
But I think we need some report formats for the end of the year. The kind of analysis we're doing for warrant articles and so forth. So maybe we should talk with Jonathan about that. Is that your pen? You're welcome to it. It's not writing well.
Here's all the ink out.
It was in my thing. Well, I might have taken it from another.
That's your.
You need one? You need one?
No, that's all right.
All right. Okay. Then we're all set with that. So you're going to take the lead on that and find out what he's up to. Okay. So they're just two very important stuff. Okay. Action items from last meeting. Mary Ann, the emails were going back and forth about the stone wall. You were going to talk to Bruce.
I did.
You did. You sent out the emails.
$5,000 for just the front wall. You went up and took pictures and gave it to us.
Yep.
I don't understand the bidding process for the cemetery, so I don't know if Bruce needs to get more than one bid.
Out of them.
But it hasn't been 200 years, but it's just that long front wall. I mean, how long is that?
Yeah, but if they take it down, I asked my husband who does a huge amount of stonework, he said, well, that could be a week and a half to 2 weeks.
Well, I figured out the math and sent it to everybody, but was it $1,400 or something? Yeah, he gave us $10. So that's where it is.
It's slow roll.
$1,400?
No, 140 hours.
Was it 140 hours?
Okay.
I remember there's a one and a 4 and
It's 140 hours, but, I mean, Bob thought it was actually less than that, so.
It depends if they have to dig down and put in a better foundation or not.
Well, there's that.
Plus the trees that grew up there. Now
Yeah,
they're
the
cutting out-
DPW's doing that.
They're cutting, they're taking those out.
That's a shame, I'm gonna miss those trees.
Well, the one that goes around the wall.
In front of the wall, they're already been
So
cut out.
it does depend on how major a job they're doing, whether they're just putting the wall back together or they're taking it apart and putting it back together.
I was not here when this came up as a topic of discussion, but I guess the question really, as I understand it, is do we need to put that much into the warrant article? Is that what the issue was, or is there enough, not enough, or who's paid, where does it come from, or what?
We didn't know what they were talking about. What cemetery, what wall, you know,
Okay.
what, how much did they want to do with this
What I wanna,
$5,000?
can anybody explain to me why the cemetery perpetual care people aren't paying for it?
I don't think there's enough money in those accounts, because we had the discussion today about that, because they worked so long this year, mowing and taking care of the cemeteries, that they actually paid out more than they made on their returns on their investments. So they ended up losing money. They actually lost ground this year, so basically they're trying to
It was
maintain
a bad
ground.
year for the market, and they always do worse anyway. But, they've got a lot of money in there.
They do, but I don't think they like to dip into the actual principle of it, just.
Maybe they don't like it, but why don't
How
they
much
have
money are we
to?
talking about?
Probably would have to have that argument with Bruce.
Donna, how much money are we talking when you say a lot of money?
I don't have it with me.
Yeah, it's like a lot of.
No,
lot
Is
of
it
work.
$400?
A couple $100,000.
Yeah, that's got
That's a
last
good
month.
question to ask.
Right, but they are trying to only do the interest, not.
Correct. They don't
They're
actually
trying
put it
to,
down.
but in good years, they're gonna have more than they pay out for mowing. Is the town going to assume the expense of maintaining cemeteries? Or is the cemetery perpetual care committee or
We always,
funds
for a
going
long,
to?
long time, every year, we always put 4,000 or 5,000 either repairing headstones or
I know.
taking
warrant
out
article,
trees, or as a warrant article every year. I mean,
Yeah,
for
I don't
a
know
long
what
time,
it is.
that, either fixing those up, because some people don't even aren't even alive at the headstones, or, there's no family left or anything else, so they're.
Well, there is or not. I mean, they paid in a perpetual care thing. They paid for the privilege of having someone maintain their plot.
But not all the cemeteries are like that. Not each and every headstone.
Well, maybe they should
Yeah.
raise the fees for having someone maintain your plot, so that they can maintain all the plots, but I
I'm
don't
not
see where it's
totally
the
up
town.
on how that all works, but.
I know I wrote him a check for $100 or something like that years ago, and I never got cash.
This
This
is
is like
like
30 years ago,
All right.
I never got
I
cash.
don't think we are gonna solve that problem tonight, so let's
We
move
can just
forward.
all vote against it.
I've got two notes here. For the select board, I started a list. Why can't the dollars for the stone wall and the cemetery come from the trust or perpetual care account? As asked. And the other thing is, I think that cemetery warrant article ought to be more specific as to which stone wall they're referring to, so that people know where cemetery is. So, because somebody's gonna ask when the time comes for, so.
And the Milo Green is stone wall, of course, it's not a cemetery, so.
Right.
That couldn't be paid for.
And that's a separate warrant article, so, okay. All right. Any other things about the cemetery and the stone wall there? All right. Nick, you're supposed to affidavit about trucks and the cost of paving Marshall Road only.
Yeah, I have to apologize. I dropped the ball on that one. Sorry.
I think I sent you some figures on
Yeah.
that.
You did send something. I didn't talk to David directly though. So
Okay. Next action is mine. We'll find the right set of notes on that one. Okay. In terms of the ambulance budget, there was, the question came up for me, Priscilla was supposed to ask me to ask the fire department, the ambulance captain, about future capital improvements, specifically whether it was possible to refurbish engine 2 instead of replacing it. And I think it's actually engine 3, but I'm not sure. Instead of replacing it, and whether we need to replace the ambulance or purchase equipment in the near future. Yes, they would like to refurbish that ambulance, the fire engine. The problem is that nobody will give them a price, until it's ready to be done. So to have something to put into that capital improvement plan as a marker, I don't know what to tell you, Glenn.
I think the question needs to be asked differently. If a 20-year-old fire truck showed up on their door, what is the high and the low that they'd always spend on refurbishing it?
The answer has come back, that it depends on the truck, that it's all over the place.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying about high and low,
Yeah.
so.
But this is the truck that we originally custom built for this town, right?
Correct, in 2000.
So it has the basic features, so isn't it really just a matter of bringing it up to the safety standards?
Well, basically what I would do is take our truck and bring it up there and say, what would it cost to recondition this now?
Mm-hmm.
Give us a quote, and we'll just use inflation on it. And do that. At least give us a starting point.
We probably could, but if that's something we want as the town, is it possible that we ask David to send one of the firemen out with the truck to do that while they're on the job?
David, you and Kim?
I was gonna say, we have another rescue, or fire truck to cover, if that one's out, being evaluated, and we have a fire here.
It's really nothing that we need to done right this minute.
I agree with that.
You know, it could be done this summer or something like that, and you could run it up there, and or it goes up for repairs at the same time. You know, they could ask us the same thing. It's nothing that has to be done like right this minute, but it's something that should be done within the next, year. And it should go up there in some time or another for repairs and that finance.
Les?
I'm worried about that simply because we're buying a new truck because that one cannot get parts.
No, we'd like to buy a new truck. No, he's talking about two different trucks.
Two different
He's
trucks.
talking about the one that's in East Alstead, that's the new
No,
one.
okay, I'm sorry.
2000.
I was thinking it was the one,
The Pierce.
okay.
2000 up there.
No, we'd be pissing our money away to try to
Exactly,
refurbish
that's
the
what I
old one in the village, because, I mean, it's a two-seater, there's only lap belts, there's no safety harness, there's no airbag, it's old, so.
Just not misunderstood, that's all, sorry.
Yeah, no problem, so, okay, so that's the fire truck. In terms of the ambulance squad, there was no room in the budget this year for paramedic gear, he's got it built in for next year. I actually talked to Jesse today, and he asked to bump up what he had previously submitted by $2,000, because the stipend for him was raised by the town, and that the hourly wages were raised for the town, so he needed to include that in the budget for next year. So, and that is one budget that the select board, along with a few of us, has not gotten to for line by line yet in their meetings. And he thought about having a capital reserve for equipment rather than just equipment like a stretcher and defibrillators rather than major equipment. And from what I understand, he has a bequest that was, the ambulance department service has a bequest that was left to them for that kind of gear. He wasn't sure how much was in it, and I suggested he check, because he decided today that he would like to put in a warrant article for a new defibrillator to the tune of about $28,000. And my comment was that we may well need it, but my first thought was you're a little late to the table, because they've been working on these warrant articles since November. And so now that you've got to play jiggling games with monies in order to do that. So I said, you need to find out what's in your request, because some of it possibly may come from the bequest and some of it from the warrant article, all from the warrant article, I don't know. So that's going to be up to Joel to some extent, since he's the one who's drafted these warrant articles, and has us as well. So send an email out to the selectmen after I talk to Jesse, and hopefully Jesse will be in contact with them. I did get an email back from Chris tonight, Reitman, saying that he was meeting with Jesse about some other stuff anyway, and would discuss it with him. So hopefully they'll proceed as far as that goes. Jesse did think that the $200,000 figure should cover a new ambulance when they were ready, and they certainly would look at options such as new, used, and we talked about the refurbishing, and we were afraid the costs associated with that might be a little bit beyond, a little different than the nature of costs associated with refurbishing a fire truck, because now you're gonna have to pay somebody else to cover the town while a truck is out for refurbishing. And so, you know, the cost of doing that could be large, hard to say, so.
Other thing we could think about in that situation too is what we did with the police cruiser. We leased it in the same way. I'm not sure how many miles a year they put onto that. I don't have that figure. But by leasing it, we can probably extend the life of it, number one, and maybe even save money and not having to worry about the maintenance of it.
That's potential, so I'm not sure about the maintenance, because you're still paying for your own
Yeah,
maintenance.
well, some of them have contracts that will take care of the maintenance with it.
But, so that's where we're at with the ambulance. So any questions on that action item? All right, let's move on to the department budgets then. The select board met this morning, and Glenn, Priscilla, and I were there as well. And at this point, actually, I have to pass out another sheet here. I think I got too many of these, so. No, not bookmarks. Sorry. Take one of those and pass it along, please. This is an update as of about noon today. Or did I even put on this? I didn't, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got it.
Did you?
Yeah.
And I think we got down as far as, we haven't covered the ambulance yet, fire department, forest fire, emergency management, communications. Did we do welfare yet? Welfare, library, patriotic, conservation. So, basically what's been done is from the top executive down to the police. DPW has been done through sanitation, solid waste recycling. I think we did health agencies, but I'm not positive. And I'm not positive about welfare and the library down. We did do planning and zoning, which is further up. Yeah, it should be actually there. But got carried away in the whole pile, so I'll take back there. So that's where things are at. The way I calculated it, we were about 1% under last year right now. These are also the 2015 actuals, and you can see that we've underspent roughly by $190,000. Linda's got to make some adjustments to that. There were some things she had to put in, some things she had to take out, but you know, obviously we'll have a pretty reasonable amount left over from this year. There's another meeting Friday morning at 8:15. If anyone's interested. The budget hearing is Tuesday night here at 6:30.
Well, then that needs to get changed in the mailing, because I had asked about that. Can I just back up a second? I'm sorry to interrupt. Who was at the selectmen's meeting Tuesday night? Did they talk about the Q4 report? As per last email, can't we just talk about this on Tuesday? So now what am I supposed to do this? Couldn't do it today because everybody was here, and Linda said no, and then I couldn't do it because I had something to do this afternoon. So am I coming down here tomorrow?
I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, because I emailed them going, good. Haven't got that to me. So Joel and Chris said what they had to say, and then 4 days later, Rock chimed in, can we talk about this on Tuesday?
So, are Joel and Chris positive?
Yeah, they just wanted that one line. I think I emailed it around. It's just highlighted slightly about what happens next Tuesday and how sort of like suggests to the selectmen that they modify the yada yada.
Okay, so you got responses to
2 out of
3?
3.
You can change you need to and do it.
Okay.
That's my advice. All right, so Friday morning at 8:15, next Wednesday at 8:15, there's another meeting scheduled for going over budgets, and then the hearing this Tuesday night at 6:30. So, all right, any questions on that stuff?
So there's, they're meeting at 8:15 this Friday to continue the meeting.
Correct.
And what was the other date?
Next Wednesday.
So that's after the budget hearing?
You're sure the budget hearing's here?
Yeah.
Because I checked on that.
It's online. It's on the webpage.
I know, and I told them that, and they said, no, that's wrong.
He told me the webpage was correct, because I emailed Joel this afternoon about 4:30 and said, you guys
Like,
are new.
Hold on.
Nice to find you, or,
We filled this way before they had to move it. because
Yeah, because I talked to, was it a fellow and I said that that really was me. Because everybody gets confused, and I said, the fire station town hall.
yeah, I said, just want to confirm that the hearing next Tuesday is at the town hall, 6:37.
That's the town hall.
I know that, want to tell the AABC where to go, and he said, website has it right.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that.
Call Linda tomorrow and confirm first, and if there's any, and then send out an email and let us know,
Yeah,
and then go from there.
go from there.
Okay, I'm going to skip around a little bit.
All right, sorry about that.
I'm sorry,
Just
six
send it away.
6:30?
6:30. I'm going to come back to the warrant articles, because I think that's going to be a long topic of discussion, and skip around some of the items from the selectmen's meeting. Employee job description process, I'm pretty much done with that as far as I understand. The wage adjustments have been done, and they are committed, and it was in the minutes of the selectmen's meeting last night, to go ahead and start looking for a town administrator for next year. So the thought was the better they can get the budget down, the more dollars there would be available to put in for a town administrator next year. Of course,
See that they did the job description, everybody in town.
I said that, but I'm not, that's incorrect.
We've not done
That's
that.
incorrect. Okay. It's the wage adjustments that are done. Okay. They're in process of working on the,
Do we have to vote whether we're going to have a town administrator, or can the select board do that unilaterally?
they can do that unilaterally to get in the budget.
The website, pays to remember, it says budget hearing Tuesday, January 12th, 6:30 PM, town office.
Yeah.
Town office.
That's
I
here.
know, that's why I looked, and that's why I said it, town offices. Because I was shocked.
You only got it over there.
I know, that's why I was surprised. Thank you for double checking. It's all right, I was mistaken. So they're working on job descriptions, the compensations right now, the wage adjustments are done. Town administrator, they are looking at fitting that into the budget in some place. Health insurance status, they've gone ahead with a plan on that. I don't believe that any kind of opt-out plan was added to the punch list. I don't know if that's going to be. That was something that Joel was concerned about.
We haven't done, Bill and I have done no work on either the punch list or the job description for several weeks.
Yeah. Well, there's just so many hours in a week, so.
Those darn holidays getting away.
Well, that and the budget, so. So that's where that's at. Building maintenance and repairs, there was a carpentry report issued. I have it here, which I'll be happy to pass around if anybody wants to look at it. I didn't copy it because it was 8 pages, and, I think after you see it, you're probably not gonna really want it, but, it's not very specific.
Yeah.
Just make sure that gets back to you. It says there's a lot of things that need to be done, which there are, and, basically, we'll provide a more detailed quote at some time. There was supposed to be a second quote from this group or person, for the door, raising the door in the firehouse, and it hasn't come through yet. We did get one from another contractor for about $6,400, something in that line, which I thought was pretty reasonable. And I had run that by Bruce Bellows to make sure he thought it was reasonable, and he did, so.
How much was that?
I think I want to say $6,380, something like that. I left it home, about approximately $6,400. So they have gone ahead out of 2015 funds and replaced the front door over here. I don't know if anybody noticed, there's a new metal door on the, coming up the handicap ramp. The sheetrock was painted today. And the police department has a new steel door that was put in. So that stuff came out of the 2015 funds, or at least it's supposed to. The select board, I'm told, is going to prioritize things on that list, and it's still an open item as to what we need to include in the budget for next year, particularly because of work on the firehouse and town hall. We also have a door over there with a roof over it, the posts holding the roof up are relatively rotten, so we kind of want to repair that before it comes down on someone or something. So whether or not we want to include a warrant article or line items to the budget to recommend specific repairs is another story. Any comments on that? Nobody has any thoughts on that one?
Well, I think we need to be looking at our warrant articles before we
Carol,
think about having more.
through the years, there was always, I think, 10,000 in there that hasn't been spent. If they started spending that,
I agree.
prioritizing.
I agree.
I think they're getting.
You did mention that to the selectmen.
I think they may wind up including some money for the town hall, and then other stuff may come out of that line item that you're talking about, Bart. The other thing too is that I guess John and I were going to do some stuff in terms of energy on buildings, and I think that's something we should be looking at in terms of prioritizing is where the energy audit items fit in. So I want to keep that on in mind as well. So, all right, any other questions about building maintenance and repairs? All right, sanding gravel bids. Joel, or Glenn, do you want to go over that one? We went through it so fast last night, I was multitasking.
Well, right now, we were trying to find the last year's bid sheet, and I found it, which also was kind of like a la carte, because we were thinking about doing the vinyl sill up there. So obviously we're not doing that again this year. So I trimmed it down. I got a text off to David to find out on the road sand, how he wants it done, and then I'll finalize up this and get it to Linda, and Linda can send it out to get some bids on it.
Okay.
But we're basically looking at some road sand, but we're not going to be going through much. Well, as far as of now, we haven't gone through much road sand on the stuff, but we're going to try to make quite a bit of gravel to go along with it. And what we're looking at is right around 4,500 yards of crushed road sand, and obviously that number is going to depend. We only can hold so much up there. So if we don't use much, then that will drop down to 2,500 or 3,000, where we use. But we're going to try to get at least around 5,700 yards of gravel made up. And then this will go up the bids, and they'll tell us how much we can spend on it.
All right, any questions on that? All right, I understand they want to raise the veterans exemption on property tax as well, from $50 to, was it 300?
300.
Thank you. Which I think will cost the town about maybe $16,000 basically if they do that. So, in terms of revenue not coming in directly from those people, but I think everybody was in agreement that it was a good thing to do, but I think it has to be a warrant article if I'm not
I believe
mistaken
so, yes.
to do that.
Yeah. And I think Linda was going to confirm those figures to figure out exactly what it was going to cost.
Yeah, 16,500.
That's what she came up with, okay.
Yep. All right, in terms of the ambulance, there was some talk about billing non-residents at a higher rate than what we bill residents, so that the town isn't really picking up the tab for people that get hurt while they're in town. And I guess Joel checked with the legal people, and that's not kosher. You have to treat everybody equal, so that won't change. They are going to be looking at statistics for calls and reimbursements to see, basically the number of calls they get, that they actually get reimbursements or paid for, and then to try to look at percents. And it's going to vary from year to year, obviously, in terms of the nature of the calls and their insurances and all that stuff. But how many people are paying the bills? I guess because the concern was that if you get somebody with a high deductible and the insurance company declines to pay for some reason, and the people themselves don't pay, then do you send a collection agency out after them, or what do you do? And how do you know they have a high deductible? I don't know, but it was a topic for discussion. So,
Alan?
yes.
Jess's concern was that amount would come out of his budget, but I was wondering could it come out of the welfare end of it first? If there was money in there or no?
Doesn't even matter what line it comes out of, it's
I
still
guess
coming out.
it doesn't.
And I don't know whether the RSA's would dictate any of that kind of stuff either. So.
According to that brochure about welfare guidelines, it would not be coming out of welfare. Welfare doesn't cover that.
The other thing they're going to do is send out an RFP, or request for proposal for backup paramedic coverage to see, because the Luzio was not cheap. I guess the last time they sent it out, they only got one quote back, so let's see what they can do on that. that and try to keep things up, up to speed, so. Okay, the current projected surplus is on that sheet, so any comments on that?
Just wanted to say, I think the guys have done a real good job, over the year, this last year, in keeping costs down for the town.
Yes, for the most part.
For the most part.
That number is misleading to some extent because we did not have a police chief, and so the police's budget is drastically underspent, so, that has to be considered too. So, what to me is a good thing is that we've kept it close to being on budget, on target, and I think that's important. Yeah, we're doing a better job planning. Maybe our crystal ball was a little clearer this year, so. Okay, the RFP for mowing, get the impression they've only gotten one person who's responded to that, so they're still looking.
Roadside mowing and regular mowing, yes, just not one for each.
Okay, Avatar, there's some talk about being able to get all the information from the tax cards online, and I forget what, I don't have my notes here in terms of what it was going to cost, but I think there was some talk about potentially doing it, but they didn't think they were going to go ahead right this year and do it, so. But that's a thought, it will cost more for Avatar if we want to have that information available, and I think the question becomes, do we need it? I guess they were more concerned with property maps because they have not been updated in about 35, 40 years, and so Linda felt that it was going to get to the point where the state said you needed to get them updated, and if that came in, then the cost of that was going to be far more substantial, so something to keep in mind. I guess they're also looking at building codes with rental properties and property with liens that, as I understand it, if you own a rental property and you're not paying your taxes, the town can come in and collect the rents from the tenants so that they go right to the town, not to the property owner.
There was one last night in the Red Bull News for that.
Oh, good, so they went and decided to do that? Okay, so that was it from the selectmen's meeting. There really wasn't much last night at all, as far as that went. The big thing last night was that the fire truck bids came in. 4 bids, and they ranged from a low of $428,100 to a high of $458,348. And those numbers are a little bit, I don't want to say misleading, that's the worst case scenario with them. I know the one that was $458 had a payment plan where the more you put down up front, the more they would knock off, as did one others. I haven't looked at all the specs and details yet. They each were. One was about that thick and the other 3 ring binders, so a lot to go through.
Space Region guys actually drove all the way down here from Alstead.
No, he lives in Shore.
Oh, nice. I thought you drove all the way down here.
No, because I said to him afterwards, there was a guy here last night that one of the reps from one of the companies, and I'm sitting there going like, I don't remember sending them an RFP. So I said to him, we didn't send you an RFP, did we? And he said, no. And, I introduced myself and told him why I was asking him. And I said, well, did you get it off the town website? Because we had posted it on the website. And I guess when they had that mess in Keene with Liberty Utilities, he was on the mutual aid there and heard about it. And that's not that long ago. So they put together a quote pretty darn fast for that. So his is one that I have not gone through in any details. But the other thing that was interesting was a couple of things. One, the difference was really only about $30,000, which not a whole heck of a lot from one quote to the other. They're tight. And the delivery days ranged from 200 days to over a year. So, so there's a lot of things to look at, which we will be. I will be handing one set of copies over to the fire department tomorrow night and asking them to go through them in detail from the truck standpoint. I will, and possibly somebody else will be looking at the bids in terms of the breakdown in terms of reduced price with payments and the details, and, from a safety standpoint. But one of there was a couple of things that perked out at me, at a quick glance, and so we need more system box to look at it because the spec doesn't need a whole lot to from drive differentials and all that kind of stuff. The fire guys have to look at that over, unless you have.
Do you have a quick list of who has returned bids?
Valley Fire Equipment, who are out of New Hampshire, Bulldog, KME, which is out of Mass, KME is actually manufactured in Pennsylvania, Lakes Region, who produces Aaron's Fox trucks, and I don't know where those are actually manufactured, and Ferrara, the rep lives in town, but the trucks are actually manufactured in Louisiana.
Thank you.
You don't know where Aaron's Fox is made, anybody know?
I want to say Michigan.
Okay. That may well be. That's the one truck that the one quote that I didn't even get to glance at, so.
I can check into that.
I'm sure it says in the quote, so just a curiosity thing. And they vary too. Some of them would pay for 2 trips for us to come down. For like one was 2 trips for 3 people to come down during the manufacturing process to look at the whole process. Another was 1 person, 1 trip, and so all those little things have to be considered, and we're going to need to go through them in detail. So we will be doing that. So. Any other questions about the select board stuff?
On this thing, would you like me to bring it home and scan it and
We've got an
email it
electronic,
to
if
everybody?
anybody wants it.
You do? Where is it?
Does anybody want it?
I'll take it out, I couldn't find my signal phone.
Okay.
So you're gonna do it? Okay. I think they did a good job in terms of listing lots of things that need to be done, but not a lot of detail in terms of what they need to do and what it's gonna cost or how to go ahead. So the selectmen will have their hands on prioritizing that. So any other old business? All right, then I suggest we move ahead to the warrant article, if that's okay with everybody.
Can I just ask, on the overall budget, the last select board meeting that I attended, I asked the question about how they were going to do these raises, retroactive. And my understanding that they're making an adjustment, whatever that was, based on the report that was given in. And that on a go forward, so they're going to bring people forward from last April to current, which gives everybody a one-time increase.
They issue checks to that effect.
Yeah, so in other words, everybody will have gotten an effective increase last year.
Everyone that they felt needed to do an increase will have gotten an increase.
So then the question was, what about going forward? And I was told that we were not going to have any merit increases in the budget going forward for next year.
That is what I understood.
But in looking at the proposal, this is a couple of weeks old now, it might have changed. In some of the departments, there was a merit increase, at least the salary line, the wage lines have gone up.
The wage lines had to go up to reflect the increases that they were given last year. So if someone was given a pay raise, the budget lines for this year had to go up to include that pay raise going forward.
Okay, so it was just the pay raise for that $12,000 that was given out last year, which should have been the maximum that would have been in the current budget going forward.
No. Okay, some of it was based on, I don't know.
Yeah, I just wondered.
Because there was one line item that went up substantially, and it was strictly because of raises.
Okay.
That's that.
So you're comfortable that what was being told in the select board meeting that there will be no raises for 2016 is the case?
Did I go through it line by line and look? No.
Okay. Because I would hate to see to get into a
buried like last
contest.
year.
Yeah, and get into a contest, well, so-and-so got a raise and we weren't supposed to, and all that nonsense that happened last year. So I was just wondering, if you looked at that.
No, I did not look at that in detail, so.
That's for the highway department, that's doing the math out, and that actually reflects in the budget themselves.
All right,
Can I take that?
pass those around.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Warrant articles. Let's go through this in detail. There were some stipend adjustments too as well, but
Yeah, I understand that.
All right, the warrant articles. The spreadsheet that I'm passing around is a combination of one that Joel did and one that Priscilla did. And I guess it's a matter of style in terms of I needed to have them both on one sheet. It just didn't work for me to have two separate ones, so feel free to use whatever you need to.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, I was not here at the, I was not here at the meeting when you guys discussed this, so you may need to put some input in. So at this point, Article 2 is subject to change. That's a working process. That's going to be the final budget. Any comments on that? Yes, no?
I think we're trying to catch up. Well, figure it out. All right.
Just one handout?
One handout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you can see on the left is what Joel was proposing, something he sent to me for the select board. From what I understand, it's Joel's proposal, not the select board's right now. The other side is what Priscilla had done, and I took some columns from her spreadsheet, the cheat sheet that she put together, and included it so that they would both be on one page, so we could see next to each other.
So these are the numbers that we discussed at the December 16th meeting,
Correct. Okay.
which nobody remembers.
Okay. Well,
Remember that.
all right.
See?
So, line 2, article number 2 is subject to change because that's the budget, it's still in process. Okay? All right. Article 3 is the bridge capital reserve fund. Okay? And what Joel is proposing is that $25,000 is the amount, and it comes from the, is it uniform fund balance, is that what it is?
Unassigned.
Unassigned fund balance, correct, okay? No capital reserve on this at this point. This is money that's going to go into the capital reserve.
There is a balance already in the capital.
Correct. So this is money, so we're not taking anything from a capital reserve. It's money to go into a capital reserve.
Fund balance.
Correct. So are we in agreement with that one?
Yes.
Okay.
We were on the 16th in
All right.
agreement with that.
Well, wait a minute. Yeah, we were from fund balance. Okay, never mind. Catching up.
All right. So I'm interpreting line 4, the $145,000 that they are suggesting to go to the highway capital reserve fund, that this committee wanted to knock it down by $100,000.
I'd knock it down further than that.
Right, I think,
Oh, yeah, we did. We had a big talk on that one.
yeah, I think the original, I believe the intent of this 145 is to cover the cost of the 2 trucks.
Basically, the 145 is what we need to save if we want to continue on with the same amount of equipment that we own right now.
Right.
That's reality.
Because we've scheduled the replacement of the 10-wheeler for 190.
Well, that's 200 now, but yeah, it's for this year.
Right, so what I don't understand is that in addition to
No, that would,
this Article 3, 4?
right now, yeah, we would need 190,000, so we'd have to draw out the 190 and put some money with it. I mean, we'd have to draw some amount of money and put some money with it because we don't have enough money in there to cover it. But to buy the future stuff down the road, we need to save 145,000 on top of what we have to spend on the truck itself.
Okay, so,
So we're gonna be around 200,000 is what we're gonna be up around.
Right, but we're not putting it all into the fund balance
No.
in 1 year. I mean, that's,
But to
I mean, not in
maintain,
the capital improvements to.
right, but to maintain the highway equipment we have right now, we need to put in the capital reserve 145,000 this year, next year $150,000, the following year another $155,000, the following year $160,000. That's just to maintain the equipment we have right now.
and is
that
that,
to maintain or replace?
That's to replace it.
So there's
Wait a minute,
So
where were we in the
so-
discussion when we had?
Because I wasn't
it
here,
was not,
and I was watching it online, trying to get stupid messages out.
Right, you weren't here.
Right, and I'm going, yeah. So I mean,
I thought we mentioned, I wish Glenn
This
was
is-
here.
This is where we're hitting that breaking point of whether we should put money in the capital reserve funds or just buy the stupid equipment. Because that's where we're at right now. We're behind that far with all of our equipment. we're that far behind.
So,
So we either put in money and then take it right back out is what we're gonna be doing.
Well, you can't without a capital, without a
You can
warrant.
buy it outright, yeah, the warrant article, but yes, I mean, basically, if you wanna keep replacing that stuff, that's what you need to do, is you're gonna be putting the money in and then just taking it right out again.
so just the details are, that we need 200, you're saying now, this year for this 10-wheeler, then we need 120 the next year for a 6-wheeler, and then the next year we need
Well, the
77.
6-wheeler is gonna be, that's replacing Kim's truck for $125,000.
All right, any solution. I mean, I find this just like every year, it feels like you
You're
get
gonna be buying a piece of equipment every single year, and not just small.
and then it's gonna keep repeating if we stay on the cycle, which you keep saying.
And that's why I do this plan to show, I've always kind of felt that every department says, once we get this, we'll worry about the next piece of equipment. Well, we need to look at all the equipment,
Right.
through the whole life. That's why I made this whole chart to show that. Like, you can't, now we'll just get that piece of equipment, we'll wait until we get the next one, we'll worry about that. We need to look at it, and whether or not we can even actually afford to maintain what we have, and keep the roads going, keep the bridges open, you know, the police department funded and everything else through the whole thing.
Don't you anticipate a human crime?
So Glenn, you were talking with Joel about this roll-off truck, and you were gonna,
Well, yes, and actually, when it comes time to replace the roll-off truck, which is the rubbish truck, Joel and I have been tossing around the ideas, and I found stuff online where Keene does it. If you look at some of their trucks, they actually have beds that are like a roll-off, and what they do is they put a dump truck on it, they'll take that off, they put like a tank on it, for washing down the bridges, and they have different, each truck has multiple things, and all the trucks can interchange. So it's really kind of neat. So during the winter time, they put sanders on them.
So,
And then
it's like a
during the
flatbed that they put,
what we would do is we would actually
on the back.
talking about getting rid of the 2008, maybe in a few years, while we still get good money for it, buy a different truck that would be multi-purpose, that we would plow with, and we would haul the rubbish with, and haul gravel with, and things like that. Combining vehicles instead of trying to buy two vehicles.
like the fire department.
Like the fire department, exactly.
yeah, so,
Because you're looking at 200,000 easily for a rubbish truck.
Okay.
so assuming that works out, would we still go ahead and buy this 10-wheeler?
Well, that's where we're at right now. Do we really need it? Do you want to keep the roads the way you are right now? That is the question.
No, I want to keep them the way they were 3 years ago, when they were maintained properly.
Well, this is for only winter, okay? Mainly because during the summertime, they don't need all these trucks. They can hire a truck to haul the gravel, things like that. But when they,
When they were maintained properly, in the summer, they were rounded, so
Yeah.
that you wouldn't have these quicksand things happening with the
Right.
mud.
And they were
And in
flat.
the winter, they were flat,
Yeah.
so you could plow them properly,
right,
and they haven't been doing that.
well, that's to keep for David. But either way, if you want to have what you have now,
Then we
This
just
is what we
cut
have
the
to-
budget down,
this
because
is what we,
we have got really crap right now.
Hold on. So, basically what
well, I
you're,
like that too.
basically what you're saying is that if we want to at least maintain what we're doing and go forward, we need to put the 100,000 back in.
Yeah, if you want to continue on what you have right now and raise taxes, for every $160,000 you spend is $1 on the tax rate, which is $200 on an whole house. So, I mean, you could easily raise everybody's taxes $400 to $600 by
That's just
everything
for
you need.
town, that's not counting school, counting.
Correct.
What
Yes.
we're not talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're at that point now, whether we decide whether we are going to live with roads that aren't bare or roads that I grew up with. And, I mean, 10 years, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, we drove on roads that weren't like this.
Better?
No, they were worse. Oh, God, going down Walpole Valley Road, you pull off to the side.
All the old timers have been telling me that,
You
the
ride
roads are just fine, I'm saying about 3 years ago.
They just sold it down the middle, everybody off the center line.
Absolutely.
And it was like chicken.
Yeah. You messed around the hill, you pulled off, they came
Yeah,
down the hill.
that's right, they
Yeah.
didn't know. Hell yeah.
Like Camper, which I heard is in an absolute mess right now, but I haven't been across Camper in a while, but
Right.
Les, you had a comment?
I just quickly, from my understanding, I thought we had one of these convertible trucks right now that's taking all the garbage.
We do have a roll-off truck.
We
but
do
it
have,
needs
so-
to be replaced. It's a Sterling. Sterling is out of business, so eventually the parts are gonna get harder and harder to find the longer you wait.
Yeah, but we do have one
We
truck
do
right
have
now.
one truck right now that we're using.
All right.
Really not, we bought it used from Florida. We brought it up here, and we ended up dumping like $6,000 into the rear ends of it. And it's been fairly decent. We've had to put a clutch in, 2 clutches, but that employee's gone, so I don't worry about clutches anymore.
Barb?
But were we also looking into hiring that out too? That was an option that was on the table too.
And Joe and I had a discussion on that too today, and he's gonna try to get hold of Waste Management again and try to get a figure from them to try to see what this would cost to actually not be in the rubbish business anymore.
It's part before the horse.
And that's what I'm saying, that something like that would be 3 or 4 years down the road that we would be buying a rig like that. Right now, we're talking about replacing the 1994 International 4900. It is tired, and it does need to be
What
replaced.
was the year the one we replaced last year? What do you-
That was a 1-ton, basically glorified 1-ton. That was a Ford 550, and that was a 2002. But those are about a 10-year lifespan on those things. They're disposable.
All right, there's,
So, one thing we had talked about, I think, last winter was contracting out our plowing. Because what you're saying is the plowing is a big thing, that
Right,
we
so-
need the extra vehicles in the winter.
So what I did is I pulled some numbers. Last year we paid an employee 320 hours for snow. Hired a truck for $80 an hour. You're talking $25,000 a year for paying that guy. And I said, well, okay, fine. We're paying a driver about $5,500, fuel about $2,400, wear and tear another $1,000. You know, everything else. And we're talking about $10,000. So we're getting the same amount of money for $10,000 where we could be if we hired out $25,000.
same amount of work.
The same amount of work, so we're saving $15,000 a year.
Yeah, but how much is the truck?
Well, see, that's the whole thing, is right now what I'm looking at on the new truck, I just emailed the paperwork over to Patriot, which is a truck place over in Westminster, Vermont, to Craig over there, and he has tried to talk me into, and I've asked him, I said, we need to bring him here and have a meeting here with everybody, and he can show us the numbers. But what he's telling us that we can actually purchase a truck, drive it for 5 years, trade it in on a new truck, and it should only cost us around $10,000 a year to run. I'd like to see the numbers on paper without a conversation, because that's like, holy cow, that's, you know, you spend $20,000 on a truck for the first 12 years or so, you're coasting along pretty good, but once you get over that hump, you know, you could spend the last 8 years, you could spend $15,000 on that truck with repairs. And then normally a box, you should sandblast the box about every 5 or 6 years to keep it from rusting out. You have a bed on it, and that's $2,000 or $3,000. So, you know, over the course of the 20 years, you could easily paint that box 3 times, 4 times.
All right. Priscilla, you have a question?
Well, I mean, seeing as, it seems to me we don't really have a firm plan for capital investments for the highway department. So, I mean, I don't see any reason why Article 4 is in here unless it's clear that this is part of a bigger plan.
Well, and my thought was, when I started figuring out the capital reserves of funding, is drop it down by $10,000. Just put a little bit in there. You know what I mean? Because next year we got another big piece of equipment to buy. We got, you know, another $125,000 out of that, and then very soon we're going to be looking at a, you know, ambulance on top of that,
So
plus the paving and everything else.
So you would drop this down to $10,000?
$10,000, yeah.
But you would include an article, a different article that's not on this list for the
For the truck.
for the 10-wheeler?
Yeah, right. But he's still behind, you know, I mean, I would say if I was king for a day, I wouldn't even buy that truck.
Well, yeah, then why are you doing it?
That's for the town to decide, not me. So if the town wants to vote it down, so if it's as a small group of people, we should at least give the town an option to vote for this truck.
Yeah, but we have to have a plan. We can't just say vote for it if you think you want it.
Well,
You're our expert, so.
So realistically, and this is a conversation I've had with David, but I don't really ever get a really good answer, is right now we have 5 trucks. Take one away, what will the roads look like during the winter time? How long will it take you to get around to do it? And what would the roads look like?